whether the hail is headed there. But here we are. Welcome to Wisconsin Democracy Campaign's People's Gala. We are your co-MCs for the evening. My name is Kristen Bry.
And my name is Dan Schaefer. Thanks to all of you for being here to celebrate and recognize 30 years of working for a real, true, representative democracy and a clean, transparent government here in the state of Wisconsin. Give yourself a hand.
So like we said, there's a Milwaukee contingent that is missing tonight, and we are Milwaukee folks. So for the Madison folks who maybe don't recognize Dan or I am Kristen Bry. I am the co-host of a radio show called Point Taken with 620 WTMJ. I'm also a columnist at Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and I got both of those jobs because a couple years back I started a social media account that fused comedy with Wisconsin news called As Goes Wisconsin.
Yes.
And my name is Dan Schaefer. I'm the founder of a publication called the Recombobulation Area. It is, of course, for those of you who do not know, it is, of course, named after the famous post-security area in the Milwaukee Airport, the only of its kind in the world. Because we have a rather discombobulating politics here in the state of Wisconsin, so we all need a place to recombobulate. I'm also now the political editor of Civic Media. Civic Media. A pro-democracy statewide radio network that now includes 23 stations and one Substack newsletter.
There are a lot of things that Dan and I have in common. We are both parents. We are both millennials. But we both independently started new media ventures around the same time here in Wisconsin. I started As Goes Wisconsin in 2020. Dan started the Recombobulation Area in late 2019.
Quite the time to be in independent media covering politics in this of all states, to say the least.
To say the least. But I would say the most valuable similarity between Dan and I think also why we're friends, is when we started those ventures, it's not because anyone was paying us to do it. Certainly, I think I probably lost money doing that at first. But no one even really asked us to do it. But I think we both saw that we had a skill set that was valuable, and there was something that we could do with it that would be valuable to the state. And so our work is not, the clickbait outrage of the day. It is grounded in civic engagement and advocating for a better, stronger, more inclusive democracy.
And Kristen made instructional videos about showing her mom how to use technology to request an absentee ballot during the pandemic, and convinced a bunch of UW Madison students to make a sexy music video about volunteering to be poll workers.
P-O-L-L, not P-O-L-E. And Dan writes about voting rights, and is still the only guy crazy enough to write a preview for every race on the ballot every 2 years for the Wisconsin State Legislature. All 160 of them. And now more competitive, until there's more things to write about.
More competitive, lots to write about for us, that's for sure. But both of us believe that democracy is better when more people are engaged and involved in the political process and informed about what that process is and why it matters.
And we both like to have a little fun along the way. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We are going to celebrate democracy and all the critically important work being done by Wisconsin Democracy Campaign with so many people, and so many people who are here tonight, like you, who show up and fight to make this state better over and over and over again. And so we're going to have a little fun for you here too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing we both agree on too is that participation is power. Say that one with me, folks. Participation is power.
And so by showing up and being engaged citizens, getting involved in any aspect of the civic process, whether that be school board, common council, or the presidential election, it's all up to us as far as our participation to make our democracy better.
Sometimes that means saving it from certain threats. Sometimes that means breaking new ground. But whatever it is, stay engaged, stay informed, and keep fighting the good fight.
All right. And with that, I got to get my timer, because what are we doing you next, Dan?
I'll be giving you a brief history of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign's 30 years in 90 seconds.
Let's see if you can do that. Ready? Go.
For 30 years, the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign has been a relentless advocate for clean government and real democracy. It all started in 1995 when Gala, frustrated by the bipartisan failure to enforce campaign finance laws and transparency, became the founding executive of WDC. The next year, she brought on David Jolsett as data manager, and WDC launched Wisconsin's first public searchable database tracking political donations to statewide candidates, a groundbreaking tool still used today by journalists, including myself, watchdogs, and everyday citizens. In the early 2000s, under Executive Director Mike McCabe, WDC expanded its reach, releasing hard-hitting reports, organizing rallies and grassroots events, and gaining statewide media attention. The organization played a central role in uncovering the 2001 caucus scandal, which resulted in several legislative leaders being convicted of criminal misconduct in public office, with some serving jail time, and helped spark reform through creative organizing, including launching the People's Legislature, a bold effort to give power back to the people. Matt Rothschild took the helm in 2015 and brought a journalistic background to the fight. WDC had ramped up its publishing, producing multiple news stories a week while supporting reporters across Wisconsin and the country. The organization stood strong against the sweeping 2015 Walker-era changes that gutted campaign finance laws. It also became a vocal advocate for overturning Citizens United and amending the U.S. Constitution. WDC also began to allocate more resources to issues of racial equity and economic justice. WDC led the charge against partisan gerrymandering and became the organizational home to Wisconsin Fair Maps Coalition, with a broad support for nonpartisan redistricting reform across the state. Since 2013, with Nick Ramos at the helm, the organization has continued to money in politics while modernizing its communication and deepening its coalition with community-centered approach. WDC celebrated a major milestone with the implementation of temporary fair maps last year. Today, WDC works at the center of democracy, racial equity, economic justice, and the fight against disinformation and authoritarian threats. One thing has remained true over the past 30 years: the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign is here to ensure that democracy in our state belongs to the people. We'll blame it on you guys.
All right, so what makes the People's Gala different from galas in the past, or annual formal meetings of WDC in the past? Well, I'll read you an exact quote from Nick in his initial email when he asked Dan and I to be here tonight.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
We're calling it the People's Gala, and it will focus on 30 years of our work in Wisconsin and being a place for all people, and not some stuffy-ass evening together. I feel like pretty much sums up what we're doing here today. And so, these are weird times that we're living in right now. So it could feel a little tone-deaf to ask people to get dressed up in their suits and their dresses and pretend that we're not witnessing everything that we're witnessing every day right now. And so, solidarity with Zelensky. Do you even know the suit? You do, obviously, you're wearing it. But yes, this night is meant for us to formally meet together in solidarity with one another, but in a way that is still true to yourself and being honest about the moment that we're in. So, of course, I took the liberty to wear my fun voting shirts. But it is also the most diverse the WDC event has ever been. I was told, I've not been to one of these before, but I was told that in the past they have looked very retired and very white. And so, but if you look around, we love that you're all here.
We love Bob. We love Bob.
Also, it is, if you look around the room and seeing what democracy actually looks like is when the table is bigger and the table has more representation here. And so, I wanted to recognize all of that. But beyond the ranging attire and the ranging demographics, you'll also notice tonight that the People's Gala is recognizing Wisconsin trailblazers of the past. So if you look on every single one of your tables, it is named after a social justice warrior. And so the ability to, if you want to name some of the people who are on your table, as far as, what's the table over here? Humans, okay.
Humans.
Valar Phillips, a great one. Who's at your table?
No idea. Indra Washnawata.
Okay. So take a moment, I think, once we're done tonight, to look at everyone who's recognized across the different tables. And so there was also, including art, right? We were talking about the typewriter, which was created first here in Wisconsin. There's the screen printing, the live painting that was still happening. Did she move? She's right here. Ah, perfect. And then also the political cartoons that are in the back, as far as WDC's always supporting local artists and political cartoons, because, let me get to my paper, because art is resistance. I mean, I think and comedy is resistance. Where did I, give me a second. It's still funny. Where is it? Here we go. So art is resistance, and I wanted to read this quote, because as someone who tries to focus on comedy, this always stuck with me because it was Jon Stewart who said this in his 2022 Mark Twain acceptance speech. When the society is under threat, comedians are the first ones who get sent away first. It's just a reminder to people that democracy is under threat. Authoritarians are the threat to comedy, to art, to music, to thought, to poetry, to progress. So take pictures, make art, and make jokes.
Amen.
With that, next up, we'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Norm Stockwell, publisher of the Progressive magazine.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here, and I'm particularly here to talk about this guy, Fighting Bob the Follett, for whom our table over here is named. And everybody can stand him up there. There we go. June 14th, a month from today, will be the 170th birthday of Fighting Bob the Follett, the founder of our magazine, The Progressive. And there are copies of these out in the lobby. Please take one home with you. Share them with your friends. John Nichols, who's out there somewhere, writing in January of 1999, in The Progressive, called the Follett the most courageous political leader this nation has ever produced. He was born Robert Marion LaFollette on June 14, 1855, in Primrose, Wisconsin. His father died when he was only 8 months old, and in 1862 his mother remarried and moved with her new husband, John Saxton, to a house in Argyle. As a teen, LaFollette once told Saxton that he might like to become a statesman someday. His stepfather suggested he go to law school. He took that advice, graduating from the University of Wisconsin in 1879 and being admitted to the state bar in 1880. That same year, at the age of 25, LaFollette was elected as district attorney for Dane County, beginning a string of political offices that led through the House of Representatives, the Governor's Mansion, and the U.S. Senate. He also ran for president twice, and in 1924 received 1 out of every 6 votes cast in the election as a third-party candidate of his own Progressive Party. LaFollette's political philosophy really had its beginnings in those early days at the University of Wisconsin, where he heard then Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court, Edward Ryan, address graduating seniors with the words, "For the first time in our politics, money is taking the field of organized power. The question will arise, and will arise in your day, which shall rule, wealth or man?" It was these words that would shape LaFollette's understanding of politics and his fierce advocacy for direct democracy by everyday working people of this country. Writing in his 1912 autobiography, LaFollette says he learned during his years in the House of Representatives that the real question was, shall government be for the benefit of private interests, or shall government be for the benefit of public interest? This is the simple issue involved in the present conflict in our nation. Now that was 1912, he wrote that, not 2025. 116 years ago, in January 1909, LaFollette, together with his wife, women's and civil rights activist Belcase LaFollette, launched a new political magazine, La Follette's Weekly, to call out abuses of power and give voice to the struggles and victories of everyday people. As La Follette proudly proclaimed on the banner of this magazine, which is today called The Progressive, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." As governor and then U.S. Senator, La Follette sought to represent the interests of the people and oppose the consolidation of power of the large corporations, especially railroads and other large monopolies and trusts of that day. He fought for the rights of workers to organize unions, for the preservation of the environment, and to regulate lobbyists and end patronage politics. It's a part of La Follette's legacy that today we have open political primaries, the direct election of senators through the 17th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and thanks to his son, Robert M. La Follette, the right to hold recall elections when our officials are not fulfilling their duties, as we know well here in Wisconsin. In the Senate, La Follette opposed U.S. imperial expansionism into Mexico and Latin America. He loudly opposed the entry of the United States into World War I, seeing it as a war for the wealthy that would be fought by everyday working people. In an April 1917 speech on the floor of the U.S. Senate, he spoke out for the poor, who are always the ones called upon to rot in the trenches. For his opposition to the war, La Follette was vilified in the press, burned in effigy on the UW campus, branded by many as a traitor, and threatened with expulsion from the U.S. Senate. But a century later, history has proven that his stance against that war and his analysis of its causes were absolutely correct. In the introduction to his 1947 book, The La Follettes and the Wisconsin Idea, Edward Doan writes, "In the religious field, they're called seekers. In politics, they're called radicals, insurgents, destroyers of society, and subversive elements. They call themselves progressives. They seek in the political field to develop a direct, responsive government in which each citizen is accorded the full dignity of sovereignty." They were united, he said, in their unshakable belief in the democratic principle of self-government. It is this belief that led Robert M. La Follette to say in 1911, in the pages of La Follette's Weekly, that the composite judgment of the people is always safer and wiser and stronger and more unselfish than the judgment of any one individual mind. The people, he said, have never failed in any great crisis in our history. Today we are again faced with a great political crisis, with economic inequality rivaling the days of the robber barons, redistricting and voter ID laws impeding the ability of citizens to vote, and corporate influence skewing our electoral system with volumes of cash unimaginable in La Follette's time. Once again, people are calling for a return to a truly democratic system of governance by and for the people. It is these struggles that we chronicle in our magazine today, and these voices that we lift up, voices that are otherwise unrepresented in the media. As Fighting Bob said when he was elected overwhelmingly to the U.S. Senate for a second term in 1911, tyranny and oppression are just as possible under democratic forms as any other. We are slow to realize that democracy is a life and involves continual struggle. It is only as those of every generation who love democracy resist with all their might the encroachments of its enemies that the ideals of representative government can even nearly be approximated. Thank you.
I'm kidding. How you guys feeling? You guys feeling good? That's just how we. You guys feeling good? Well, hello everybody. My name is Nick Ramos. I am the 4th Executive Director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. And before I go into my spiel and do my usual shenanigans that you guys all know me and love me for. That's my whole name. That's right. I hear you. We got assembly members in the building, man. Put your hands up. Anyways, I see Dan Madison, I see Fran here, I see former state lawmakers, but also our county executives in the building. Everybody, get their most days on it. else in here? Because I know whenever you have elected, you got to make sure you get everybody. Who is that, Alfonso? I can't see. Mike McCabe? Yeah, well, okay, Mike. But I have a section for Mike. No, we're jumping the gun. And Matt, okay, Alfonso, did you look at the program? Anyways, I just wanted to start it out with just something that I feel like I haven't had enough time to process, and there's a lot of people that this man, he knew, and I'm talking about Senator Tim Cullen. Yeah. I just want to take some time just to reflect on that man, because he was one of the first people that when I got this job, I was just a stranger to him, just this black Puerto Rican boy. He's like, oh yeah, hey, what's up? And I'm like, hello, Senator Cullen. And he was so wise in just talking to me about the history of this thing. When we're talking about redistricting, talking about the struggle. And, I'll never forget where I was when I got the news that he passed, because I was planning on talking to him. I was planning on actually having a one-on-one with him, and I'm never going to get that opportunity. And so I just know that man would be so proud to look in this crowd and see so many people that are here when it feels like the sky is falling. They're here and they want to fight. They want to be here and be a part of the resistance. And so, if you got a drink or something, man, I just want to raise it up for Senator Cullen. We love you. We're thinking about you. We're going to keep fighting for you. This is for you, big dog. Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. So, when I think about this organization, I think about the early days of it. I think about just 30 years. 1995. Can you remember 1995, guys? For me, I was a... You weren't born yet. I was born. I was born in 1991, thank you very much. So I do have memories. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I remember that, 1995. But this thing that we've been fighting for all these years, and the last time we were here in community, and I did the whole kind of wedding thing, how many of you have been with the organization for 5 years, raise your hand. I did all of that because I want us to recognize that making it to 30 is not just by, hopes and dreams. It's the people that believed in a mission when no one else believed in it and continue to sustain it. And I think about people like our dear founder back there, Gail Shea, who is in the building. And can you remember, in the 90s, we were working on being progressive and all that stuff, but it wasn't, it was hammer time, but we weren't, to have a boss like Gail back there who was thinking futuristically and knowing that, it's a leap of faith to try and tackle something so monumental like money in politics. People all the time, they're we all know it's a problem. But it's what do you want me to do? I have 2 nickels I could rub together. And I said nickels. Nickels. Thank you. And it's one of those things where even today, and then hearing Norm talk about Bob LaFollette and the battles that were being had 100 years ago, and yet we're here. But think about the progress that we have been able to do. And it's not, I know that this is Democracy Campaign, this is the People's Gala. And we would be a cooked goose if we were not in community and we were not with partners and allies in this struggle. And I see a lot of them in here today. So if you're in here and you work on voting rights for democracy, you could be an elected, it doesn't matter. But if you work on those issues, just stand up 1 second. I just want to see you. I know, it feels weird. How many of you in here that have been fighting? And for the people that weren't standing, that's okay, because you want to know something?
Stand if you're a voter.
No, you can, okay, thank you. All right, one time, because I don't want to be awkward. If you voted in this last election, let me stand up, real quick.
Twice?
Wait, don't vote out. Voted one time. Not quite. Thank you. Hey, you guys are stretching out after all that good food, man. Shout out to, well, who's their caterer? There it is. Hey, shout out to them. I'm just thinking about all the things, and again, I get to come into this fight a lot later than a lot of folks. I mean, there's people that have been battling and being, absolutely, I mean, you get the door slammed in your face enough times, you wonder, like, you know, what's the point? You wonder why, like, you want to keep pushing back when you feel like the movie is not over. And I talk all the time about just this work. I talk about, and I looked at the history when I first joined this organization, and to watch how it's evolved and it's grown over all this time, because people continue to say, we're not there yet as far as the Wisconsin that we know we can be. And it's a testament to not just talking about the money, but doing things to actually hold people accountable. I mean, they talked about the caucus scandal. We've had other situations where pay to play and a lot of goofy stuff happened. And I think we are doing something that's got people paying attention in the way that they haven't. But it's going to be us being able to continue to tell those powerful narratives, to want to be in community with people, to want to have difficult conversations with people that are not like us, and being able to bring people more into the fold, because there's a lot more that unites us and divides us. I feel that. I mean, do you guys feel that shit?
Yes.
That's what you're sensing, but-
Yes.
And like, going back to 2023, like when I first got the job, and I'm over here just wide-eyed, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And you know, I mean, in some respects, I still feel that, because I feel like I'm always learning something. I'm always trying to figure it out. But I remember the fair map stuff just getting thrown right into it. We're talking about years of battling, and now we're at this nexus where we get to actually think about a world where we can have maps that aren't gerrymandered into hell.
Yeah.
And again, if it were just Gail, if it were just Mike, if it was just Matt, if it were just me, believe me, we would be playing charades or shoots and ladders in a room somewhere. We wouldn't be able to do any of this. We get the opportunities to be here because of the incredible resilience and also some of the heartbreaking things that we've had to deal with in this state together. And it's like, I sit here and I always say I'm proud of folks. I always say that I'm proud of people, because to be given that many crap sandwiches in a lifetime and then still say, sir, I want one more. It's insane, but here we are. And you think about just where we're going and what kind of amazing things, but before I could even do that, I mean, I mentioned my predecessors, and I know they weren't expecting to actually be involved in this program, but you know, oh, I gotta keep going?
No, you gotta wrap it up.
Oh, 10 minutes already?
Yeah, Nick.
Wow. Hey, cut me off. Okay. So can I bring the executive directors up, or am I done?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Picture with all of you.
Thank you. Okay.
For the gram.
For the gram. Well, back on schedule here, and sorry for rambling, but I just want to take one moment, because we have all 4 executive directors here in a 30-year run in one house. I want to bring them up here one time. Come on up here, don't be shy. Come on, I will play some music.
Sorry, I'm just gonna run over here.
Give it up for Gala and Matt. I feel like we should stand in order for a second. Hang on a second. Gail, go that way. I'll be on this side. Matt. Yeah. Who cares?
That's almost.
behind schedule now. So the one thing I'm going to say is real quick, two things. One, we submitted a request to the governor's office to get a proclamation for today. Big Gov knows that we're turning 30, and so they sent me the documents right before this thing happened, so I don't have the physical product to show off. But for all intents and purposes, guys, today is our day. So, celebrate responsibly. All right, and yeah, I mean, I could talk about this stuff, but you know, you guys are here to see me. But oh, one thing I do got to talk about, because bear with me here, gang. This is very important. All right, so for the folks that purchased tables tonight and made this celebration possible, all of you are rock stars, but I just want to give some shout outs, and then you guys can drag me out of here and lock me in the closet. The League of Women Voters happens to be sitting over at Theodora W. Thank you. The power table sitting at the Where's Law Forward at? Where are you at? Put your hands up. Law Forward at sitting at the William T. Green table. Let's set out the Law Forward. I already know SEIU's in the building. Pat came in hot and she said, "Where's my bar at?" Hey, big shout out to SEIU. The sitting Bob LaFond table. And then, where's Nancy at? Nancy, hey, don't be shy. You put your hand up quick, put it down. Hey, big shout out to Nancy Worcester, I can't speak, I'm so chat. Worcester, sister, I'm sorry. And guests at the Hopo Ka Glory of the Morning table. Shout out to them. Where's worth fighting for Wisconsin? I mean, I love that. Oh, I love it. Carlene, yeah. Give it up. We got, let's see, Apex Public Solutions and Ulspich and Associates. Where are you guys at? Throw it up, throw it up. Hey. Sitting at Father James Dropping Table. And then, lastly, where's Lori at? Where are you at, Lori?
Lori's almost asleep. Where you at?
Don't be afraid, Lori. Lori Solmacy and our guests are at the Electric Twin Table. Thank you so much. Again, this will take 30 seconds. Thank you for believing in us. Sincerely. Seriously. Thank you for believing in democracy. Thank you for believing in us. Because in these times, we got so much good stuff to show this world. Wisconsin, we're a leader. We're going to keep leading. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to give it back to Kristen and Dan.
Nick Ramos, everybody. Give him a hand.
He's hot. Do you know anybody that?
We'll be fine, right? We got this.
Got this.
How's everyone feeling? Question, is the silent auction closed or are we still? No. Silent auction not closed.
7:45.
7:45, so you still have time.
Silent auction's open, the
Bid out.
bar is open,
Bar is
tip your
open.
bartenders.
This will be a little interactive. We're gonna
That's
have
right,
fun.
we're going to have some fun here. So, we are arriving here at the People's Gala at a rather remarkable moment for politics in Wisconsin. No, it's not just because last fall we were the single closest swing state in the nation. And no, it's not because more than $100 million was spent on one race in the spring election just a few weeks ago. It's because we are in one of those rare moments in Wisconsin where we are not actively in the middle of a campaign cycle.
Do you hear that sound? Silence. It has been 44 days since you have seen an ad on your TV TV, or your radio, or your front lawn, or any of the places that we were inundated with whenever there is an election here. So, it feels pretty nice, doesn't it?
It does feel good. This rare moment we're in Wisconsin right now is as close as we're going to get to an off-season.
But, I mean, Dan, there are some people who are already announcing runs for 2026. I mean, did Derek Van Orden and Rebecca Cook ever stop running for election?
We'll get close to an off-season, all right? This is Wisconsin, after all. We're never going to be entirely out of the woods when it comes to campaign politics.
Okay, so what do you mean by an off-season then? Why does anyone here care?
Okay, here's what I mean. When we're in the middle of a campaign, just like when one of our favorite teams is in the middle of the season, or making a run in the playoffs, so many questions arise about changes that could be made or how to do things differently if things aren't quite going the way you want them to. But oftentimes you can't make those changes right in the middle of the process. You have to do it in the off-season. And that's where we are now. We are in the off-season. So in order to improve our democracy here in Wisconsin,
something that, we all need, like we all agree that we need to do. We need to improve our democracy, right?
don't we all agree we need to improve our democracy here in Wisconsin? We need to take advantage of this off-season and make some changes that will improve our democracy here in our state. So we're better off and ready to go when it's game on.
Okay, so I think I'm getting it now. We have a lot of work to do to address things like money in politics, which we've been talking about, working across the aisle and making our democracy more fair. But how do you suppose that we're going to do this?
Well, just a few weeks ago, the biggest event of the NFL offseason was held, and
There you go.
I'm going to stop now. All right, so you're saying that we should have a draft?
we should have a draft.
So like a democracy draft?
A democracy draft! So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and forth, making picks, making selections on things we'd like to do here in our rare political off-season to improve our democracy here in Wisconsin.
All right, here we go. Let's play the sound again.
Kristen Bry, you are on the clock.
I am on the clock. All right, what do people think? What do people think is going to be the number one draft pick in the 2025 democracy draft?
Fairman.
All right,
It's a good one.
democracy 2025. The first pick, Kristen Bry chooses getting money out of politics.
Yeah!
Because man, was that a doozy in the spring election. $100 million for a campaign, for a spring election, nonpartisan campaign that broke records not that long ago. 2019, how much was spent? $3 million?
There was a record set in 2023, and then that record was doubled and shattered and then some here in 2025. And I think we can all recognize that this is a real problem. The Wisconsin Democracy Campaign did a poll earlier this spring on money in politics, and 88% of people polled said they wanted to address money in politics. I don't know how often 88% of Wisconsinites can agree on anything,
Yeah.
but I think we can all agree that we need to do something about money in politics, because when you have somebody like Elon Musk spending the sums that he did, handing out ridiculous $1 million checks and all of that like he did in Green Bay just weeks before the draft, I think it's pretty clear to all of us that we need to do something about how the explosion of money in politics in the state of Wisconsin.
But it's not even just, Elon Musk is really something, but it's how many people who are billionaires that live outside of our state, and they donate to the Democrats, they donate to Republicans, and people who don't live here, but because of the way our rules are right now, have an outsized voice in what happens here. And it changes how funding goes to our public schools, our clean water systems, all of the things that actually need to go towards making our state better. It gets invested interest for people who don't even live here sometimes. And it's not fair, and it's not what democracy should be.
And so I think, as referenced before, as the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign has advocated for, the 2015 rewrite of campaign finance laws in Wisconsin needs to be addressed in some way, shape, or form, and it has to be addressed by both parties. And I think it has to be, you can't have some sort of unilateral disarmament here. Both parties have to get up there and turn their key. And if we heard so much from both Democrats and Republicans all through the spring about, not wanting donations from George Soros or not wanting donations from the Uihleins or Elon Musk and all of these different big donor funders that we have, contributing such sizable sums in our politics, we need both parties to come to the table and address this. And I think, if nothing else, the spending in this spring election was a clear sign that we need to do something. We need to do something now. We need to do something in this offseason.
So that is my first draft pick in the offseason. Dan Schaefer, you are on the clock.
I'm on the clock. No surprise to probably many of you who read the recombobulation area.
I'm going to do the sign. I'm going to do the song.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do the gag here. With the second pick in the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign's Democracy Draft, Dan Schaefer selects Fair Maps. We do, and we should celebrate that achievement here because the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign played a huge part in that. So many people in this room played a huge part in that, and so many people played a role over so much time. It wasn't just one ruling to get fair maps for the most recent election in Wisconsin and the elections that are coming up. It took so much time and organizing, and so many of you in this room were directly responsible for that. So first off, give yourselves a hand here.
We're job's not done, and it's not only, obviously, Law Forward has just, no, that's not Law Forward, Elias has the new congressional maps, but obviously Law Forward and all the work you guys did for the legislative maps. But we're already halfway through the 2020s, which is crazy to think about. And so we're going to have a census in 5 years, and unless we get actual nonpartisan redistricting legislation passed and signed, we're going to have to do it again. Right? And so as far as actually changing and taking the power out of politicians to be writing and drawing their own districts and actually putting it to a nonpartisan independent body to be doing this every 10 years is really where we got to go.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, so we had a temporary solution where we have fairer maps is the way I've been characterizing it. Not necessarily fair maps, but fairer maps. And frankly, I'm a little bit disappointed that we haven't seen more action from Governor Evers, from people in the legislature, to come to the table to put forth a plan for a long-term process for nonpartisan redistricting in the state of Wisconsin. Put the proposal on the table. Let's have the conversation because we need to take this action now and before it's too late. And we still haven't fully gotten out from the gerrymander because only half of the state senate was up for election last year, so the other half will be up next year, and it is incumbent on all of us to make sure that we have a nonpartisan process that gives us fair maps for the long term, not just for one election, not just for two elections, but for every election going forward in the state. And with that, I think Kristen Bry, you are back on the clock.
I'm back on the clock. I already know. Does anyone else? Can you guess what's going to be next?
Beer.
Say beer?
Beer. No. Yeah.
I like beer. Yeah. I'm not going to pick that with you afterwards. All right. I think I know. And with my the third pick in the 2025 Wisconsin Democracy Draft, I pick citizen-led ballots. I don't know about you, but especially when it comes to women's reproductive rights, seeing state after state after state, whether they're red or blue, choose to solidify and make sure that women have a right to choose, has been something that I have been very jealous of, especially as someone who was pregnant during when the 1849 ban was in place. And so as we talk about, we have every election, it feels like we have some poorly worded, stupid ballot initiative that no one understands, even if you're a lawyer, and yet none of those are from direct democracy as far as what people actually want. Because 88% of people might say in Wisconsin that they did say that they want more transparency in our elections, but there's a lot of other things there is majority of Wisconsinites want, including expanding Medicaid. Yeah. You know, and when it comes to gun control, fair masks. There are so many different things that we actually do agree on when you talk to people, and yet we can't make, I mean, this is the thing with Missouri, right? Increasing the minimum wage. There's a lot of things here that would improve the lives of a lot of people in Wisconsin that doesn't know a party, and yet we can't, as a population, have that kind of direct democracy right now.
And oftentimes they won't even have the conversation, because when we have an issue that polls with like 80% support, let's say the governor calls a special session on it, the legislature will gavel in and gavel out. So we can't even have the conversation a lot of the time. And I think having more citizen-led ballot initiatives and having that direct democracy option in Wisconsin will cut through some of the nonsense and gridlock that we see in Madison on issue after issue. You know, one of the things that I do at the Reconfabulation area is write a breakdown of every new edition of the Marquette University Law School poll. There are a lot of things that Wisconsinites agree on that we are not doing. And the reason for that is because of the political gridlock that exists. And having a way to cut through that and having a citizen-led process to do the things like you said, like codify abortion rights, expand LGBT rights, legalize marijuana, expand Medicaid, all of the different things that poll with like 70 or 80% support in the state of Wisconsin that we can't do. So, you know, I know Michigan has this option, we've seen that, and I think it would be such a game changer for Wisconsin to have some citizen-led ballot initiatives.
All right, hey, you got one more pick. Do you think you know what you want?
All right, well, you took my last one off the board. I was sitting there waiting that citizen-led ballot initiatives would drop to me, but I guess with the fourth pick, oh, here we go.
It's the last time, I promise.
With the fourth pick in the Wisconsin Democracy Draft 2025, I am selecting getting involved. I think we'd be remiss if we did not, in some capacity, recognize the moment that we're in right now, where authoritarianism is on the march, and we are facing so many threats to democracy in so many ways at a federal level, at a state level, at a local level, all across the board. And I think, to get back to the point that we made right at the beginning here, I think one of the points that has been made to me is a phrase that has really stuck with me over the years, is that participation is power. And the more that you can get involved by, I don't know, starting a TikTok, or
Starting a column,
starting a Substack, getting involved in your local community. Democracy is built from the ground up, and the more that you can get involved in grassroots politics, from your local town council or school board all the way up to the President of the United States, you can make a difference, and you can, by getting involved, what is the phrase that action is the antidote to anxiety? I think we're all feeling a little bit of anxiety in our political moment right now, and I think action and taking that action at the local level and getting involved is a great way to address that anxiety and to fight to uphold our democracy here in our state and our country.
But I also think, so like I was born in Madison, I left for 17 years, and I've been back since 2020. So like I missed some of the dark years of like the years that a lot of stuff started to get stripped away, right? And like a trajectory that some probably thought Wisconsin was gonna look a lot different than what it actually does look like, and why some of the things that we can celebrate of the wins that we've gotten for democracy, and a lot of that has to do with people who are in the room tonight. And it's not necessarily people who were elected officials, it's people who just did the painstaking work of showing up and talking to your neighbors and getting people who are busy and don't know how to get engaged. And every new person you get to care a little bit more makes a difference. And so like things feel a little bit better in Wisconsin, but as a country, things don't feel great right now. And I think it's easier than ever to turn your phone off and to shut it out because it is scary and it is overwhelming. and the news every day is hard. As someone who works, is people who work in the news, and it's our job to try to stay informed. It's a lot.
It's discombobulating.
and so it's okay to take, like reminding yourself, reminding your friends, it's okay to take breaks. That like you gotta stay in the fight, otherwise the fight is over. And I feel like we talked about this earlier, and like the marathon analogy I think is used a lot, but marathons are still a single event, like an individual event. And the analogy I've heard more recently that I like a lot more is that this is a choir, and that our ability to hold a long note, and so one person can take a breath, but the whole choir is still singing. And so knowing when you have to take care of each other and when you have to take care of yourself, but not to actually stop singing. All right, so we're done with our drafts. What are you guys drafting in the off season?
What's on your big board for what you want to see in this? Fair maps.
I've already chosen.
Student math.
Early
Oh,
processing
yes.
absentee ballots, absolutely. So we can get rid of all of the conspiracy nonsense that surrounds the quote-unquote late-night ballot dumps in Milwaukee, which of course is anything but. It's just comic
Would you say a
books.
permanent clerk in Madison? No more constitutional amendments on the ballot?
Leave the Constitution.
We had somebody from the back there. No more voter ID laws.
Speaking of constitutional amendments.
Yeah, speaking of which.
Automatic voter registration.
Automatic voter registration.
Make it easier for people to vote, not harder.
ADR, voter registration.
Who else has one?
All college IDs could be used for voting.
College ID used for voting. That's a great one.
Driver's licenses for all.
Driver's licenses for all. Absolutely.